when it comes to, let's say, a sales letter or a landing page, that piece of copy that you need to persuade someone, if you had to choose your top 5 hypnotic copywriting techniques, what would they be?
Well, hands down, the headline. That headline, it's the make it or break it point. If that headline doesn't grab people, hold people, compel people, interest people, and get them interested in the next sentence, you failed.
Yeah.
So the headline is the most important thing. And just because I say headline, I don't want beginner copywriters to go, well, I put a headline there. It's not just words. It is the intelligent structure of those words that needs to compel people to want to know more. So one of my favorite techniques is to ask a question, but not a yes/no question, because if I said, do you believe it's going to rain today, and they say yes or no, there's no reason to keep reading.
Yeah.
They answered yes or no, and they're done. I like an open-ended question that would engage them. One of the most famous headlines in history is, do you make these mistakes in English? And there were the list of mistakes. Well, that led people, the headline led people right into the beginning of the ad. And then the ad, of course, it needs to take them to a sense of action. So I like, first, you need to have a headline. Second, I like to have a question headline. Third, I like the question to be open-ended. Yes, no, stops the flow.
Yeah.
Little trick I do is I often will put quotation marks around the headline, because quotation marks signify there's some sort of life, there's some sort of dialogue, and you can get 10, 15% or even more readership from doing that. That would be the first thing I would say. Now, that's all about just the headline. The next thing I would say is tell a story. Some of the greatest copywriters in history all focused on stories. One of the copywriters that most influenced me was Robert Collier. He wrote the Robert Collier letter book, and most people don't know that he was a metaphysical author. In my life, when I was in my teenage years, I was reading his metaphysical books, and it wasn't until 20 years later that I found out he wrote the Robert Collier letter book, and he was a direct mail genius. And when I looked at his books, whether they were the metaphysical or the Robert Collier book, he also published a magazine called Mind Incorporated, and I found some old issues and I would read those. Talk about hypnotic writing. If there was a hypnotic writer before me, it was Robert Collier. And his secret was to tell a story. He would focus on an individual, and the individual had to do something. And there's usually a challenge of some sort that the reader gets engaged in, because you want the reader to identify with whoever is being talked about in the story. So the second element that I would have in here is having a story to engage people. And the third element that I would have in here is proof. There needs to be those testimonials. Dan Kennedy said, have a preponderance of proof, which is a term taken from attorneys, which just means overwhelm people with the evidence that other people have used it. And it doesn't matter if you put 150 testimonials there, because you don't care if they read them, you care that they see them.
Yeah.
And by seeing the overwhelming evidence, they unconsciously conclude, holy shit, this stuff must actually work. This product or service actually works. The next thing that I would focus on, and I got this from Eugene Schwartz, who wrote Breakthrough Advertising. Eugene Schwartz said, a copywriter is the script writer of your prospect's dreams. Think about what that reader wants, and then paint the picture, probably through a story, of what their life will be like when they have their dream come true. I would say number 5 is some sort of takeaway, which means scarcity. The price is going to change today. You have bonuses you're going to give them today. It's what Jay Abraham always called the ethical bribe. If they act today, you're going to give them stuff. It's an ethical bribe. But you got to take it away. If they don't do it today, they're not going to get the ethical bribe. Life is never going to change for them. The money, the cost of this is going to go up. Some sort of slap.